Hey everyone, it's Chris with Awakening of Consciousness. Hopping on here to make a quick video. I think I'm gonna title this video um, Enlightenment, how to become enlightened in a moment of surrender that becomes a lifelong journey. I think that's a good title for this one. Enlightenment. Um, Again, as I probably say a lot in many of my videos, these are just words. These are just words, and you can call it, enlightenment, nirvana, samadhi, a lot of different ways of saying essentially having a inner experience of experiencing that you are the experiencer, that you are your thoughts, your consciousness, but more so that you are one with everything, essentially, right? That you are of the universe, part of the universe, and you know, an observer of it, and you're creating your reality, and you know, you are creation on a more dense uh, macro level of, the pure, energy of that is creation, um, whatever you want to call it, the energy that is all, everything that we experience, ourselves, the world around us, the universal laws and principles, the gravity that we seem to experience, which is just another word. All these things are a creation of that singular energy that they call the Big Bang, that they've deduced with physics and whatever they think they know about the universe, which really they still know nothing, because most scientists are looking outwards for something when it's all actually within. They are the creator. Um, but nevertheless, all this is happening for a reason. It's consciousness experiencing and expressing itself and living out this experience as what we call ourselves as human beings, evolving, as the most conscious, aware thing on the planet, becoming also conscious and aware of ourselves as consciousness, as this greater intelligence that is connected and permeates through all things and is all things, and we are it experiencing itself within itself. Um, all that good stuff that I tend to probably essentially repeat in so many different ways. Um, that is a lot of words that try to conceptualize this inner knowing that happens essentially in a moment, that you become a student of this nature of reality, this experience. That's if you, I don't want to say there's a right way of doing anything, but that is if you have certain experiences or realizations, breakthroughs, epiphanies, levels of enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, awakening, ascension, blah, blah, blah. Words. But these experiences, and you further go into uh, perceptions and breaking down your experience, with what you, I guess you can say, understand about your physical reality, and what you, possibly dive into and understand about consciousness itself, and, energy, etc., all these things. You meditate on them, and you try to combine them spiritually through, scientifically, and all these things, and you combine them. And you use words in the physical to explain and to correlate and to see the singularity, which is the connection to all these things. But that's not enlightenment. Like literally, it is, but it isn't. And you also got to realize like we live in a paradox. So like pretty much everything's a paradox. Everything's paradoxical. So you say one thing and it's right from one perception or one level of it, but then it's kind of contradictory on another level. So all that what I said isn't enlightenment, but at the same time it is enlightenment. Um, but enlightenment is something that can't be truly achieved or something that you can't become. Um, which on another perception, obviously, that's contradictory too. But it is something that already exists. It's something that's ever present always, like all these things that I talked about that are truths for me in the way that I am understanding the words that I'm using to try to express whatever I'm trying to express. And you either resonate with what I'm saying or you don't. Um, whatever your micro universe understanding of those expressions are. Um, but enlightenment is something that already exists. It is the awareness of that existence, of what is already present, um, what is already absent of attachment and of ideas, and just is existing um, within yourself, within your own consciousness and awareness, and becoming aware of that. Um, is inner enlightenment, essentially. And again, those are just words, and that's the conceptual way of getting there. And everything else that I said before that, does that necessarily mean that you have to dive all the way into that and to understand those concepts to be quote unquote enlightened? No, because you already are. And you know that's why people sit in meditation and do many different types of practices, spiritual practices, and whatever, to become awakened, to become enlightened, to reach this state of nirvana or bliss or samadhi or God consciousness. People and teachers and practices make it seem like it is a true journey. It's something that you have to achieve. It's something that takes so much energy, time, and effort, which it doesn't. It actually takes nothing. It takes surrender. It's like the easiest thing that you could do. But because we're humans and because we live in this reality where nothing is seemingly that easy, and it's so contradictory to the way that we view the world and how we gather information or how we reach something that seems so unattainable. um, we have to make it hard for ourselves. And obviously, enlightenment, what that entails also is contradictory to our existence and what we exist. And so, it's hard in a sense, but in reality, enlightenment is just absent of all these things, all these words, and what the meanings of those words and concepts. And it's wordless, it's formless. It is what transcends the physical. It is the awareness, but it's the awareness without even saying awareness. It's awareness that exists with you also being aware of my voice and what's going on right now. Um, but it's at the same time, it's like, you're aware of my voice right now, but you're not aware of your vehicle, parked out in your driveway or in your garage or on the street, wherever it's parked. Or if you don't have a vehicle, whatever, pick anything else that's not of my voice right now, or that you're not distracting yourself with at the moment, listening to me as well. You're not aware of those things, but they do still are like essentially existing, right? So it's just like that. Enlightenment is what you're not aware of. Unless you're aware of it, then you're enlightened. But it is the pure awareness, the lacking of attachment, and seeing the pure nature of what you are, that you are a divine spark of this energy and this information, this intelligence that people call God, amongst other things. But that you are that, and that you are conscious, you are aware of your existence. And, that's the beginning. And you surrender to that, right? You surrender because you have to surrender. You have to surrender everything. You have to surrender who you think you are, the words, the meanings, everything. And just see things for really what they are. And they just are, It's just like if you were to go outside and I said, tell me what you see. You might go outside and say, well, I see some grass, I see some plants, I see a tree, there's some birds in that tree, oh look, there's a butterfly over there, there's this. But really, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing? Those are words that you're conveying to me so that I have some vague understanding of what you are seeing or experiencing without me having to see it, because we've all come to an agreement essentially what these words mean, but they don't mean anything. It's not a butterfly, it just is. It's a thing, it's a part of creation. The birds, the trees, you know they're just existing, and they're existing without these attachments to identity and to these things. And they're more of a denser, less aware, um, you could say. But on a fundamental level, they are aware of themselves because they are consciousness. But, as a whole, like, you could say that they're not as conscious aware of themselves as we are, right? Or even as a dog or a primate or something. But there's levels to this, right? But they are essentially more aligned in a way to source and to what is, than we are, because our concepts, even though we are at the same time, because these concepts and all these things that we create is part of nature. It's all, essentially, you can say this is all natural. It's all a natural part of evolution. It's just like people that say synthetic or like artificial intelligence and all these things, like a computer and all these things are artificial. But at the same time, you could say, like, well, no, they're not artificial. They're actually organic because they're coming from an organic planet, and it's taking certain types of elements, like everything, to exist. So it is organic essentially. But these are words again. But nevertheless, um, you know, we as humans have become so attached to our identity and to our concepts, most of which are indoctrinated, right, um, by our environment, by our society, by our parents, by our schooling, by our countries, by our nations, by our just everything, within our culture, within our environment, from the micro to the macro. All these things are projections of reality, essentially, of what it is to be human, what it is to be on this planet, and what is going on here. Like, we have no say, right? As individuals, you come out of your mother, wherever it is in the world, on the planet that you come out of, in the social structures and dynamics that you're born into, and you have no say as to what is essentially reality to you. And you're given all these words and meanings and definitions and your name and all these things that essentially separate you from what you truly are, which is nothing, right? You're essentially nothing. But obviously I'm not saying that words are irrelevant, because they're very relevant in our society, and to convey information as we are now. It's, I guess we're not all just a singular being right now that can communicate with each other telepathically, whatever, on that level yet, or whatever. But we've become so attached to these words and stuff that we've become insane, and I'm sorry, but I find it funny um, when I really look at it, when I have those moments where I'm just looking at it and, feeling what it is to be on a higher level of awareness, I guess you can say, and then viewing it from the lower state of awareness. It's so funny. Not saying that I don't essentially run on that state of awareness from time to time. You know what I mean? I kind of have to, right? If I'm going in my car and driving somewhere, going to the grocery store, I got to be on a certain state of awareness. But, it's just funny what we do. And that we think like this 3D reality of space in between us and things, because without the space, what would exist? And the shadows we cast and all the stuff that, you know, it is reality. I'm not dismissing it, because there's so much besides what might be looked at as negative, so much beauty and fun in expressing yourself. I mean, the whole part of being human is being human, which is just a word, but experiencing um, this thing called life that you essentially created on a higher level for yourself, to experience yourself and express yourself. But and without the space and all this stuff, like what exists, it's a different type of existence. It's a different dimension of existence. If you are just more or less consciousness and awareness and energy, the things aren't going, I mean, they may appear 3D or whatever, but things are going to be less 3D. They're going to be within that quote unquote space of awareness, of consciousness, like wherever that comes from. I mean, do you really think it just comes from the brain? That it's just, different parts of the brain firing neurons and synapse and connecting somewhere to create this thing that we call a conscious being that's aware of itself, and that can calculate and come up with ideas and hypotheses and create things like science and rocket ships. And I don't think so. I believe what's happening is, consciousness is within that space that exists in all things, including atoms and particles within atoms. And the further we go into these particles, the more we will find out that it's just a never-ending cycle of going deeper or going more expanded out into the universe, because it's a never-ending cycle, because of the paradox. But anyways, yeah, there is nowhere to go. There is nothing to obtain. It's already existing. It already is. Everything else is part of the illusion, is part of the fun, and it all, circles back, figure eights back, whatever you want to look at it as, though, back to you, back to creation.